On the CEO Power Hour, I am going to be talking about your 3 must-have for really booking those clients that maybe were not ready to say yes to you yesterday, but how do you get them to say yes to you today? So if you and I haven't met, I'm Elizabeth Yang. I am an online business strategist, really focused on helping you grow your business online with the human connection system to nurture and close sales faster online. So stay tuned, say hi. We are here on Zoom. I'm going to just do a quick tech check here, make sure that we are working like we should. If you're tuning in here on the live, join me here on Zoom. Jensen here on my team is going to drop the link here so that you get an opportunity to join me live for Q&A. This is one of the perks of showing up. I often say that in our business, it's not about the convenience, right? It's really about when opportunity comes knocking. Are you showing up to answer that call? So if you are joining me here on the live, join me here on Zoom so that I can answer your call, your questions, Q&A live. Otherwise, if you're catching me on the replay, drop your questions in the comments and my team and I will go ahead and answer them. So I just want to make sure that we are live, and I think we are, and that we're all good. So let's really talk about really some of the challenges that I've been hearing recently from entrepreneurs, service providers, whether you're a business or a business coach or a consultant. Oftentimes people in our line of work are really focused on getting new clients, client acquisitions. How do I find more clients? How do I find new clients, right? But the biggest opportunity that you actually have are really what to do with the clients or the prospects, your warm leads that maybe yesterday wasn't ready yet to work with you, but today could be. And oftentimes we're so busy trying to acquire and attract new clients that we leave leads, money on the table. Those are the warm leads. Now, what do I mean by warm leads? Warm leads are those that either, opted in to your website to get your newsletter. They're all often those that maybe at one point in time signed up for a free event or a freebie or a lead magnet. They're often the ones that, for whatever reason, indicated that they really want to get to know you a little bit better. But the common mistake that many service providers make is that they will stop nurturing those leads because in that moment when they hosted maybe their free event, or maybe they had that campaign that went out via email and they didn't necessarily buy in that moment, you kind of lose track of them, don't you? And then you leave it to sort of the wayside and you forget about how powerful that is. Or maybe that prospect said no to you maybe a year ago, and now you're like, oh, I don't know if they're going to come back and work with me, right? But here are some things I want to share with you about truly how powerful it is when you are looking at nurturing your warm leads. And I'm going to share with you the 3 musts that you have to have in place in order to make sure that you're not leaking leads and leaving money on the table. I want to just share this story with you because I was just recently coaching one of my clients about how important it is for us to really think about our warm leads, or think about clients that have already done business with us, but maybe after once upon a time, they decided not to renew or to come back. 2021, early 2021, I actually was following up with a client right when COVID hit. And during that time when I was following up with him, he wasn't quite yet ready to come back and work with me and have his team work with me to pivot how to grow their business online. They were a wellness center. They had a very successful, multiple 6 to almost 7-figure business, and they were brick and mortar and they were open. When COVID hit, before COVID hit, I had been working with them on how to introduce an online digital income stream that could support and help nurture some of their clients that were looking to have, if you will, a hybrid experience. What is a hybrid experience? A hybrid experience is when you have a local, perhaps brick and mortar presence, but you also want to be able to introduce online income streams or online interactions that are digital and online. That's what a hybrid business model is. And so at the time, he was dragging his feet. I mean, clearly, no one really wants to get into the online or social media space unless they really want to, right? And so we ended up working together and we started looking at creating a digital online service membership model for his business and his team. Before COVID hit, they had been dragging their feet. And guess what? COVID hit, and it was the perfect time for them at the time to quickly implement. If anything, they had no choice, right? But the good news was that they already had a plan. They had already had a couple of different ideas and already vetted that. So they were able to respond and react really quickly when COVID first hit. Long story short, early of 2021, I was following up with them again. At that time, he and his team, or he wasn't quite yet ready to work with me again. But at the time, someone on his team was. So even though the client was a not yet or a no, not at this time, someone on his team that I had been working with was ready to work with me, and he signed up to work with me with high performance business coaching. All right. Now, fast forward, that was 2021. I just recently followed up again, right? And it was just a simple email that I sent to him that said, "Hey, how are you doing? I hope that this finds you and your family well. I'm just checking in to see how 2022 is coming along." And he said to me, he replied back and he said, "Elizabeth, I have been thinking about you and I'm so glad that you reached out. Hey, let's schedule some time to talk." Right? A really simple email, just simply maybe 6 months later, and here he is ready to talk about working with me again. I mean, he had said he had been thinking about me for the last several months in his business. Why did he not reach out? Right? And oftentimes we lose sight of the fact that people are just busy, right? And so when we lack consistency in nurturing our warm leads, especially with repeat business and making sure that we're checking in with them, we leave money on the table. So in today's episode, I'm going to share with you the 3 musts that you have to have in booking clients that are not yet ready to work with you yesterday, but might be ready for you today. Now, what I'm going to be talking about is really a couple of different pieces that you need to make sure that you have in your business as a service provider. This can be you as a coach or consultant. This could be you as someone who provides a service like life insurance, financial services products, real estate, right? Even one of my clients who is a nail tech who provides masterclasses and subscription DIY nail products as well. If you are a business owner that provides any sort of service, right, that you're selling your service and you book appointments to be able to convert and close and get paid, I'm talking to you and you want to listen up here. All right. So I'm going to just go ahead and pull in my little savvy little desktop here. And I want you to just think about for a moment how you generally generate leads. Just think about that for a moment. And if you're catching me here on the replay, let me know what that looks like. Let me know what that looks like in the comments. Okay, and I'm going to just pull up my screen here. So say good morning or good afternoon as you're tuning in. All right. Just going to move some things around here so I can see you. All right. Now you should be able to see my screen. For any reason, if you can't, let me know, right? But how do you generally generate leads? Most of the time, people are so focused on marketing and sales efforts to acquire new clients. This is a new client acquisition strategy that most people are after, right? And most of the time, people are doing things like, let me just make sure I have my pin here, right? Most people are doing things like social media, right? So they're doing social media posts and they're just like, maybe it's on Facebook one day and then Instagram on the next, right? They're doing perhaps webinars or online events, right? Or maybe even sometimes they might have an e-newsletter that they're sending out via email. You might even have perhaps some freebies or lead magnets going on, right, inside of your business, right? And you're just like doing all of these different things. Like you have so many different things that you're doing to be able to generate leads, right? You've got your social media posts happening. That could be, posting on Facebook. That could be videos on YouTube. That could be your blog, right? You have all of these different things that are happening inside of your business. And what you're trying to do is to attract and get the attention of who your ideal customers are. And what it ends up looking like is you are hoping and praying with your eyes closed, doing a whole bunch of stuff and hoping and praying that money's going to come, right? That it's going to convert for you, that your customers are going to say yes to you. So when I go back and I think about really what are the 3 musts that I want you to make sure that you have in your business when you're thinking about, okay, I am working this hard, right? You're already working this hard. If you're already working at this hard to try to attract leads, what are you doing with them after you get them, right? So many times people will look at something like this and what they'll say is, okay, I am doing social media posts and whoever wants to buy from me will send me a DM. I am doing a webinar and in that webinar, whoever wants to buy from me would have bought already. I am doing an e-newsletter, which is some sort of communication piece that maybe perhaps is promoting a webinar or promoting something. And if by that time they're already, consuming my content and they want to do business with me, they would have reached out already. If they bought or opted into my blog or my freebie, I already have an email sequence that's already set up to nurture them and perhaps make an offer, whether it's a micro offer or to book a call with me or to get a coupon or to get some sort of special service that if they wanted to already opt into that and buy that, they would have already, right? So many people will go and they will generate all these leads, right? But they are literally hoping and praying, throwing spaghetti on the wall that it will turn into sales. How many of you have been there? If you've been there, say yes in the comments, right? This is huge. So the first thing that I want you to think about when you're thinking about really the 3 musts to booking your not ready yesterday clients today is, first of all, I'm going to just make this red. Right? Do you have one clear monetization path? Do you know, based on all these different things that you're doing, what the sequence is that is going to help convert for you? I just want you to think about that for a second. If you're doing social media posts, how do you know what that next call to action is with your audience? And do you have a way to engage with them and to convert and have that conversation to monetize? If you're doing webinars and they don't buy from you during that webinar, do you have a way to follow up and have conversations with them so that you can monetize later on? If you're doing e-newsletters and freebies and blogs, do you have a way that when they're opted into that, or maybe they didn't buy during your freebie email campaigns, right? Or that, they decided on the e-newsletter that they were going to download your podcast and listen. Do you have a clear next step for them on how you're going to monetize and where you need them to go next? You see, when people are throwing spaghetti on the wall with all of these different things that they are doing to generate leads, what they're doing is they're basically saying, buy from me now. And they're just solely focused on really new client acquisition. But when clients or customers or prospects don't necessarily buy in that moment, they business owners tend to sort of shuffle them off to the side and lose sight of them. And again, rinse and repeat. trying to just find new client acquisitions and new clients, new prospects to nurture that are really ready and urgently ready to buy in that moment. But what about all of those people that you've already captured? What about all those people that already said micro yes to you, a semi yes to you? I call those micro yeses, where they've already opted into your newsletters, your blogs, your webinars, right? That they already know and like you. They're just not yet ready to buy. What about all those people, right? And so the first thing that you want to be focused on to make sure that you are really clear on your 3 months to booking your not ready yesterday clients today is to make sure that you have a clear monetization path. Now, this is so simple, but so powerful when you really understand what the power of this is and how technology and social media can enable that for you. And I'm going to share what that looks like in just a moment here. Okay. What is the second thing that I want you to think about when you are looking at really monetizing clients that are not ready, that wasn't ready yesterday, but could be ready today, right? Is I want you to think about your database building. It is not the sexiest thing in the world, okay? But let me tell you, I can show you how to make it sexy. You know what's sexy? When you got dollar bills rolling up in your bank account. That I like, right? And here's why. Because most of the time when people are really focused on what they're doing, which is this, right? They're trying to generate leads by doing a whole bunch of stuff with no clear monetization path. And then they're not even capturing, right? The leads through a database that they're building, which is really about, honestly, analytics and intelligence to say, who's my hottest leads, right? So let me just walk you through the power of really how you have to work smarter with automation, okay? So the first thing that you want to make sure, and this is why it's so powerful for you to have database, because then it makes life easier for you to follow up with. Okay, how many of you have a database? If you have a database, a client database, this could be a spreadsheet, this could be HubSpot, this could be, Airtable, this could be anything that you want it to be. The important thing is it's a centralized database of prospects and leads and clients, and it should have at a minimum 3 things, okay? Their first name, their email, and their mobile number. At a minimum, those are the 3 things that you need to have. Now, I know that most people, when they're doing opt-ins or freebies, they just take the first name and email, but mobile is quickly becoming a top trend. And I'll tell you why. I was recently just talking to a client. We were looking at how to reactivate his client database. He was getting a whole bunch of leads that were coming in through his website, that was coming in through Facebook page, but he just didn't have the intelligence in that there was no centralized location to be able to basically collect all of those different entry points, right? And take action on it. It's not that he didn't want it. He was just so busy servicing the clients that were urgently waiting, ready to buy. And his team was providing service to those clients, but the ones that were inquiring, that weren't quite yet ready, right? The ones that have gone onto his website or gone onto the Facebook page to look at information, that was maybe shopping early and thinking about buying, right? He wasn't doing anything with them, because he did not have a centralized database that allowed him to easily, quickly, saving him time and energy to say, these are the leads, and this is who I need to delegate or assign it to my team to follow up on. Are you following me on that? So let's talk about some of the things that can really make this powerful for you, right? You want to have a database, a centralized location that really allows you to work smarter with technology, with automation, right? Because if you don't do this, and I say to you, and I know this to be true, because when I'm coaching my clients, and I'm like, tell me who the 5 hottest leads that you have are. And they'll be like, well, I don't know, Elizabeth. Let me go onto Facebook and take a look at my group. Let me go onto Facebook and look at my DM. Oh, let me go onto YouTube and take a look to see what my views look like and who's commenting the most on there, right? And that's just maybe 2 platforms, 3 different ways, right? We're not even talking about Instagram. We're not even talking about LinkedIn, right? I mean, just think about, if I asked you a simple question, who are the 5 hottest leads that you have right now that maybe did not buy at an event or weren't ready to buy 6 months ago that are ready to buy now? Without a database, you would have to go to all the different social media channels, go through all of the different DM conversations that you have and figure that out, right? So the beauty of having a database is that you can actually feed information into this database automatically, right? So a good example of that is, for example, Facebook groups. You know how when you have new member requests and they put their name in and perhaps their email, and you're asking them a question about one of the challenges they have, you could actually automate that, where as you approve those members, that information gets captured into a database and it saves you time. But most importantly, it's tracking that information for you, right? Otherwise, you can go ahead and copy and paste it into a spreadsheet. That is still better than nothing at all, right? So let's talk about, again, why you need to start here. Let's talk about the power of really the must of having this, okay? So first, we said what? We said you have to have a centralized database, right? This is really centralized. It's a hub, can be as non-fancy as a spreadsheet, all the way to something automated like the HubSpot, inside of, for my program, for my clients, in the 12-month program that I run for online business mentoring, I actually include the all-in-one software for them, where basically it does all of this for them. Okay. And so not only do they get the strategy, the coaching, the tactics, and the done for you services, they also get the software. And why do I do that? It's because I found that if I can coach my clients on the strategy and the approach, but if they did not have the software to support them and make life easier, they just weren't going to do the work, right? And so this is really my vision, my mission, which is to really create an online business in a box, right? So that's really the first place you want to start, right? And then you want to make sure that all of your social, right, really truly is automated and can feed into the centralized database. So whether you're interacting with Elizabeth on Facebook or Elizabeth on LinkedIn, you know that she's one of the same person. Okay, she's not 2 different people, right? So let's talk about what else, why this is so important for you. Okay, the third one is I want you to think about a capture page, right? So for example, you want to make sure that when they opt into that lead magnet or that freebie, or they sign up for your free webinar event, that you are feeding that back, that data is being fed back into that client database of yours. Okay, that you have a centralized database that is literally collecting this information. So then now you know Elizabeth has connected with you on Facebook, Elizabeth connected with you on LinkedIn, and now Elizabeth has just registered for your webinar. What does that tell you about Elizabeth? That tells you that she has a high interest in what you've got to offer, right? Because she's already got 3 touch points there, right? Are you following me on that? If you are, type heck yeah into the comments, okay? All right, so let's keep moving. What else is really important? Right? How many of you are using Candidly right now to schedule things? How many of you are maybe using OneHub to schedule things, right? Again, you want to be working smarter here, right? So you want to make sure that your appointment scheduler, right, really is also feeding data into here. Because Elizabeth is just connected with you on Facebook. She just connected with you on LinkedIn. She just opted into your freebie, your lead magnet through the capture page, and now she's booked an initial call with you, right? And now you know that you're going to send a whole bunch of reminders so that she can also what? Make sure she doesn't miss the call with you, right? And this is the power of why you need to have a central database, okay? The last place, right, that I want you to think about, right, is not only that, but it's also what? Your website, right? Thinking about your website and making sure that you also have a way to capture things. And there's a couple of different ways that you're capturing information, right? You have your little pop-up box, right? Which is like, hey, opt into my email. And you also want to make sure that you have your little chat, you know, that little like chat that pops up and say, hey, how are you doing? Do you need any help, right? So even through those little technology enhancements, you're then able to, again, feed that into what? A centralized database, right? A centralized database. And this is so critical, folks, because I want you to just see the power of this. Many of you are working so hard and you are not thinking about how to create an ecosystem. And what we need to do here is that when you're thinking about how do I get my clients who are not ready to buy today, right, but might be ready to buy tomorrow, is that I want you to be thinking about the importance of having a marketing and sales system in place, your ecosystem, to work for you. All right. And this is why you need to have a centralized database that's working for you. Okay. So critical for you working smarter because you're already working hard, right? You're already taking this and you're already doing the social media, the e-newsletters, the freebies, the blog, the webinars, the e-newsletter, the videos. You're already doing all of that. That doesn't go away. But what I'm saying is, one, you've got to have a clear monetization strategy, a path that you are clear on. And two, you got to build a database. And what I mean by database is having all of these different ways, these different touch points, these different interactions and online tools, as well as digital tools, that you've got to have it work smarter with automation for you. Okay. Too many times, business owners will go online and they'll only seek the freebies like MailChimp and then Calendly and then Zoom and then over here and over there because they think that ultimately it's less expensive. But really what it ends up doing is actually makes it so much harder for you because you're not able to nurture the leads that you are capturing that maybe are not ready to buy today, but could be ready tomorrow to buy. Are you following me on that? If you're following me on that, type F for following into the chat, right? And so I want you just to think about that because this is really the power of why you need to be database building. I know it doesn't sound the sexiest at all, right? Like I know that it just sounds like, oh my goodness, tech overwhelm, the boringest, ever. Although you're talking to my operations folks, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is my jam. Let me map out the process flows, right? I am not an operations person either. But I can tell you, this is the difference between those that are working smarter, charging more, instead of just working harder. Just because you put in more hours into your business does not mean you're going to make more money. Okay. It is the intelligence of how all of these different touch points in your marketing, your sales system that really comes together so that you can answer this really simple question. Who are your warmest and hottest leads right now? And can you figure out what that list is in less than 5 minutes? And if you cannot answer yes to this question, right, you're working way harder than you need to. You are. Because throwing spaghetti on the wall like this with no clear monetization path, with no intent to build a database to capture your leads and your clients is not going to serve you. Okay. So what was the last one here? The last one here is making sure, again, right, that there's another touch point which is in person. Okay. Now, obviously, if it's in person, it's something like scheduling something on Zoom. It could be at a networking event in person or at an organization like BNI, and you're actually, exchanging business cards. You want to also make sure that you have this in place and that you're able to feed it into your database. This is the database building. Okay, this is the critical marketing and sales system, ecosystem that you need to have in place. People are like, Elizabeth, what is it that you do? And I am like the marketing and salesperson for OBM, right? Like OBM is online business management. They look at your processes, they look at your people, they look at your tools, and they integrate that. They basically reverse or engineer the vision that many founders and business owners have into execution with the team. But what I do is I look at it from the layer of marketing and sales. I look at it at what is your human connection system across marketing and sales, and how do you nurture and close faster with happy sales to show for, right? And so you need to be looking at how you can work smarter and really ask yourself the simple question: who are my warmest and hottest leads? And do I know who they are in 5 minutes or less? And if the answer is no, you're working way too hard. Okay. You're working way too hard. In today's world with social media, with technology, right? You should be able to look at all of these different business activities that you're doing, which is here that I'm showing you, which is your social media posts on social, which is having in place a website, making sure that you have chat, right? Making sure that you have a pop-up to an opt-in, making sure that you have a capture page, not just a Facebook event, but that if you're doing an actual launch event or a webinar, that there's some sort of registration that you're asking for 3 critical information in your client database: first name, email, and mobile number, right? And then making sure that you also have intelligence around your appointment scheduling tool, that it's not just, let's schedule an email back and forth via DM and email, right? That there's actually a schedule there, because it's not just about scheduling and getting time on your calendar, but it's also serving up a form so that your prospect can complete that, so you have some more insights into who they are. It's also, again, giving them another reason to give you their name, email, and mobile, right? So, and then of course, in person, making sure that you are also putting that information into your client database and hopefully following up and also connecting with them on social online, right? And so think about just all of these different 6 touch points, 5 to 6 touch points that you have, that I know you're doing right now in your business that are not talking to each other, right? And let's even layer on the fact that if you have a team in place, right? Not only do you have a disconnection across this ecosystem for yourself, but now that you have 1 or 2 team members on your team that are either marketing for you or selling for you or even supporting you, they have another plugin into their ecosystem that if you're not looking at how your team is coming into place, and I'll just add that here, right? Which is your team. And you don't have visibility into how your team is managing and operating and what they're doing, you're going to struggle. You're working so much harder, right? So what's an example of that? For example, you might be a realtor or even a coach or consultant, and you have other people that are, selling for you, right? Or maybe you're a broker, mortgage broker, or real estate broker, where you have agents that are working with you, right? They might be doing their own thing, but if they're under your business, right, they're supporting your brand, don't you think that you need some line of sight or visibility into that? What are they saying about you and your business, and how are they representing your business on social? How are they helping drive traffic and drive leads to your website? How are they helping promote the events that you might be hosting, right, and getting people to actually opt into the capture? How are they scheduling their appointments, and how many appointments does your team member have a week, a day? And if they can't do Mondays, who else on your team can step in, whether it's someone else on your team or you, right? These are all business decisions that you as the founder, the visionary, and the owner need to be able to answer, manage, operate, and make sure that what? It's all converting for you, right? So if you don't have this in place, red flag, you're in trouble, okay? So you can have this for yourself, but for sure, you need to have a marketing and sales system in place for your team. Because if you don't, you cannot scale. You cannot increase efficiency. Let me say that again. You cannot scale because you cannot increase sales efficiency. You might be able to sell, your team might be able to sell, but you cannot increase sales efficiency for yourself or your team without database building and using technology to your advantage. All right. And I can't stress this enough because too many people are doing a whole bunch of spaghetti on the wall, throwing things with their eyes closed, but nobody is talking about the not so sexy sometimes stuff, which is, am I creating a database for my leads? Am I looking at that list and segmenting them and looking at people who are ready to buy now urgently versus those that might be ready to buy in 3 months versus those that are ready to buy in 6 months? I want to give you a very powerful stat. Most consumers start shopping even before they're ready to buy at least a minimum of 6 months in advance. At least a minimum of 6 months in advance. I want you to think about this for your own experience. How often have you started thinking about something even before you're ready to buy and you're just starting to explore what options are available to you, right? Probably months in advance. And so many times in our business, we're looking for those that are urgently ready to buy, like in that moment. But if you're doing a lot of hard work, social media, webinars, e-newsletters, blogs, freebies, everything like that, and you're capturing some engagement, but you're not looking at first name, email, and mobile to build that database, you're doing a lot of work that isn't paying off for you, right? I want you to be working smarter with automation, not necessarily harder. Working harder is already a given as an entrepreneur. It's a requirement, right? But I promise you that putting in more hours isn't going to equal more sales, okay? And so if you don't have a marketing and sales system that allows you to have insight into all of the different business activities that you're doing right now across your business for you or your team, you're literally leaving money on the table. You're not nurturing the prospects, the warm leads that are ready to maybe not buy today, or they weren't ready yesterday, but truly are ready to buy today. Okay. You've already worked this hard to get them to opt in, to get them to know you, to get them to like you. Now you just need a marketing and a sales system that allows you to remember and your team to remember how to follow up and nurture. Okay. So let me just go back to my last tip that I want to leave you with today. That is really, I think, the most powerful. And this is usually where a lot of business owners get caught up and tripped up. This is what holds them back, okay? And I want to encourage you that at any point in time, as I'm going through this and it's resonating with you, I want you to type that into the chat and let me know, right? When you think about your marketing and your sales system, what's keeping you stuck? What is keeping you stuck, right? Jensen here on my team, she's going to drop my link in a little bit here, but one of the things that I offer as a complimentary is to book a business clarity call with me. You can go over to talkwithelizabeth.com to find time on my calendar. Make sure you select clarity because that's when you're going to have the most time. And this is literally where we will look at your marketing, your sales system, and really look at where you're leaving money. I can guarantee you that in 95% of the conversations that I have, most business owners will say to me, Elizabeth, where I'm stuck is in my messaging. It's not clear enough. And therefore, because it's not clear enough, I am not attracting my ideal ready to pay customers. That's 90% of the entrepreneurs and service providers that I talk to. And even though I would say half of them are probably right, the other half is actually they don't have a marketing and sales system in place. So they're constantly chasing new client leads when in fact they've already attracted, right, a whole bunch of leads that already know them, that already like them. Those are the warm leads. They just don't have a marketing and sales system and a nurturing system in place to re-engage with those warm leads, to reactivate them. Heck, they don't even know who those warm leads are sometimes, right? And so that's why it's so important that when I'm talking to you about the 3 musts that you need to have in booking your not ready yesterday clients today is to make sure, one, you have a clear monetization path. And if I can be of service to you there, jump on that business clarity call. Let's go there. If it's all about geeking out on the database building piece, let's go there in the business clarity call. Book a call with me, right? How do I do this, Elizabeth? Right? What tools do you recommend? Right? I'm on MailChimp. Like, how do I do this? I got a team and I don't have visibility into them. Or I have a client database, but I don't know how to use them. Elizabeth, how do I get people's name, emails, and phone numbers? Right? Like, those are those are the details that matter that will make a difference in how you are closing clients and how you know that clients are not yet ready to buy today or yesterday, they're ready to buy today. Okay. So what's a third thing that I want to leave you with? Okay. I want you to have in place a map of what I call your follow-up map. What do I mean by that? I want you to think about everything that you have in your business, right? So you're probably doing a whole lot of stuff like social media, webinars, videos, e-newsletters, podcasts, freebies, lead magnets, blogs, right? All of this amazing stuff that you're doing. I literally want you to map out 6 touch points that really is all about how do I follow up with the lead, right? What do I mean by that? Why 6? People are like, why 6, Elizabeth? Because studies have shown that it takes, on average, at least 6 follow-ups. 6 follow-ups. 6, right? 6 follow-ups before someone says yes. 6 follow-ups. And that's just touch points or interactions. It's like showing up in their DM, maybe checking in with them via email. Maybe it's tagging them in a social media post. Maybe it's sharing a resource with them. But I want you to have what I call a follow-up map in place. And this is really where you want to start looking at what are the 6 different things that I can do to follow up with someone and add value to them so that when they are ready, right, they know that I'm the first person to go to. Let me give you an example. One of the things that I love coaching my clients on is really to start with their strengths. You know, the first 30 days of a client working with me, we first take their strengths and selling assessment. And if this is something of interest to you, go ahead and reach out and book a clarity call with me, right? But why do I start here? Because sometimes some strengths in selling show up better in writing, like for a social media post. Other times their strengths in selling show up better on video. Sometimes their strengths show up better in one-on-one conversations, like in person or on a Zoom, and they're just looking to connect, right? Whatever your strengths are, everyone is uniquely different. And it's important for you to understand that it's not about following some gurus, right? Magic sauce or their recipe. It's really about knowing what your strengths are and how do you activate it when it comes to selling. Because again, you could be selling through writing. I love writing, and social media posts, especially on my Facebook, is one of the favorite ways that I love writing. I find it therapeutic, right? And it just really allows me to express myself like no other. Okay. Another example of how your strengths show up in video. When I'm coaching clients, depending on where they're at with the video spectrum, some people are super shy and they're not even ready to be on the video. Other people are like, dude, I've spoken on stages. This is nothing. Let's go, right? But like for me, for instance, I actually do better in live video streams than I do pre-recorded videos. Why? Because oftentimes when I'm pre-recording videos, I'm talking to myself and then I get into perfection mode and then I want to say, okay, stop, re-record, stop, re-record. And oftentimes what happens is because I've pre-recorded it so many different times, my personality, right? My natural personality vibe just gets filtered out. All of a sudden it's like I'm memorizing a script, right? So this is why it's so important that we want to think about our strengths in selling. Okay, why am I starting there? I promise I'm going somewhere with this, with the follow-up map, right? Because based on your strengths in selling, you want to map out 6 different touch points that I'm going to call your follow-up map to follow up with leads. So for instance, okay, if you know that based on your strengths that, through all of these different activities that you do, this is like your first touch point. Okay. So maybe it's a social media post, maybe it's a webinar, maybe it's a newsletter, maybe it's your podcast, maybe it's your freebie, maybe it's your blog, whatever first entry point that you have with your prospect, that's the first touch point. Okay. And then I want you to think about, okay, so if Elizabeth interacted with me on social media and that's the first touch point, what's the second touch point that I want to have with Elizabeth? Again, this could start in any combination. Okay. It could be, okay, if it's social media and it's a written format, could it be maybe my blog that I think might add interest or value to Elizabeth that she would be interested in? Right? That could be a follow-up, which is the second touch point, right? Or it could be a freebie, which is a third touch point, right? Or maybe it's just a simple, hey, fourth touch point, e-newsletter, right? And then finally inviting Elizabeth to come to your live event, which could be a webinar, which is the fifth touch point. And then what's the sixth? What's the sixth? Type that into the comments. Any guesses? I hope your sixth touch point is to actually extend the invitation for Elizabeth to hop on a call with you, right? So just this alone, I have just literally laid out your follow-up map. Does it matter the order? Absolutely not, because every person is going to come at you through different entry points into your ecosystem, right? Some people are going to come to you through social media, right? Some people are going to come through to you on Facebook versus LinkedIn. Some people are going to come through in person, right? Some people are going to come through an event through a capture page right here. Some of them are just going to get straight to the point and book a call with you, right? Some people will come through, the website, whether it's the pop-up or the chat, right? Or some of them will come through leads through your team and you'll have to follow up and close, right? So it doesn't really matter which entry point your prospect or your lead is coming in. What I'm saying to you, and I hope this is landing with you, is you have to have a follow-up map. This is why this starts with database building, because if Elizabeth comes through social for you, you can start to see through your database building here or she comes to you through a website, that the next second follow-up touch point could be inviting her to an event and sending her the registration page, which is your capture page here, right? It could be, she's on Facebook, and so let me send her my latest video on YouTube, right? But if you don't have this type of intelligence or analytics working for you, it's really hard to track and map your follow-up, right? Because you're literally saying, okay, there's 5 or 6 potential combinations. How am I going to keep track of 100 of my clients who like could be in various stages of their buyer's journey. They could be coming in at different entry points, one through social, one through newsletter, one through webinars, one through freebies, one through podcasts, one through blogs, right? Like I could have 100 clients. I could have, 1,000 clients or thousands of clients. How do I manually keep track of them? And the truth is you can't. You can't. You can't. And especially if you have a team, that makes it even more complex, because how do you share information across different teams? And this is really powerful and really important, that when you're thinking about really how do you begin to book clients that are not ready yesterday, that could be ready today, is to make sure that you're consistently showing up in this way, that you have a clear monetization path. So you know that every day that you show up, you just need to repeat what's working. And you know exactly that you're not throwing spaghetti in the wall, hoping and praying that you are going to convert, right? That you have every single interaction that you're doing, every single business activity that you're doing, that you have a marketing and sales system in place that is helping you database build. And then lastly, you have a clear map of how you're going to follow up with your prospects and how you're going to nurture them until you close them, and that it feels right to you, meaning that it's leaning into your strengths and that you really are building the human connection and leading with that. That is the number one biggest differentiator, especially here on the online space. Okay, so what did we just cover today? Today, I promised to show up and tell you the 3 musts that you have to have in your business for booking not ready yesterday clients today. And the real big question is, how do you know who those clients are? How do you know who are the warm leads and hot leads in less than 5 minutes? That's really the true question that you need to be asking yourself. And if you don't know and you can't find the answer to that in less than 5 minutes, what you have in place in your business is not working for you. If it's not working for you, it is definitely not working for your team. It's not going to help you scale, because what you need isn't just more sales and charging more. You also need to increase sales efficiency. And the 3 ways that you can start to know, right, who that wasn't ready yesterday is ready today, is by having 1, a clear monetization path, 2, a database that you are constantly building and looking at, that really through all your different touch points and business activities, from in-person networking to social media to your website, are all being sent, all that information is being sent to a centralized database, that when you're approving members in a Facebook group, that is automatically being sent to your centralized database. Those are all activities that should be focused on one thing for you, which is increasing sales efficiencies, right? And then lastly, we talked about the follow-up map, that if it takes about 6 follow-ups before you actually get a yes, and we know that consumers are usually thinking about 6 months in advance before they're actually ready to buy, you've got to have a follow-up plan in place. You've got to lean into that with your strengths in selling, and you've got to be looking at it from an empowered CEO of, how do I differentiate my business? How do I become the first choice for my premium customers by leading with the human connection first? This is truly the differentiator, especially on the online and social media space. How many times have we gotten those sleazy DMs where they just friended you and 2 minutes later, they're trying to pitch you something to buy? Are you really falling for this? Right? So I want to encourage you that if you need any sort of help, or you're feeling stuck with how to move forward with this, I want to encourage you to grab complimentary time on me, a business clarity call at talkwithelizabeth.com, schedule a call with me, and let's start to diagnose, well, like, where are those business symptoms? Because putting in more time, more hours in a day is not going to get you more sales. It is truly working smarter with automation and being able to use the online space, social media tools to your advantage to make better informed business decisions that will allow you to nurture and close faster. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to happy sales. So same place, same time next week. I want you to let me know in the comments, what is your number one key takeaway? What is the one thing that you learned today where you're like, wow, if I just implemented this in my business now, it is going to increase sales efficiency for me? Let me know in the comments. What's your number one takeaway that will allow you to increase sales efficiency in your business right now? So I'll see you next week, same place, same time. Take care now.